Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and the world is waiting. Move along to the song, singing in your soul. Feel the beat, clap your hands, let it take control. All you need, all you want, are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day.
Welcome to Wisconsin Family. I'm Jessa Jeremiah.
And I'm Justin Riley. We got a great show for you. We are here at J&K Security Solutions, the model smart home, and we are learning about sound technology.
Yes, and I'm excited to learn. I think I have a lot to learn, but what I'm excited to learn about is how easy it is to get different sounds in different rooms and how easy it is to work it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the different options.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited about that. And John Shear from Trinity Financial Planning is going to join us and talk a little bit about some of the services that they offer directly to their clients that work with them there.
Yes, talking about wealth management today and managing the entire portfolio, but also some things you can do in an individual basis. So you don't have to pay for the big service. You can actually do little things to help improve your financial situation.
And our good friend Emily Ruzicka from Dog Days Grooming and Care will join us. We'll talk about what's going on at Dog Days Grooming and Care. That's coming up after the break here on Wisconsin Family. Stick with us.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Family. We are here at J&K Security Solutions. We're in their model smart home and we're having a lovely time.
It's a great time.
We're going to chat with the folks a little bit later about that. Right now, there's lots of families out there that enjoy having a family pet. If you are one of them and you've got a dog, listen up because the lady who's here who needs no introduction, Emily from Dog Days Grooming and Care. How are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you for having me.
So glad to see you. Yes, nice to have you. We're going to talk a little bit about the style of grooming that you have, and I don't mean the style of grooming as in how they look when they come out, right? Doggy trends.
It's always perfect, by the way.
Well, of course. But we're going to talk more about the atmosphere in which the dogs enjoy the grooming. So talk to us about a cageless atmosphere. What does that mean, and why did you choose to do that?
Sure. Thank you for asking. There's a couple different ways I think that grooming salons are set up. I set my grooming salon up specifically so there isn't any caging at all. We boast a cage-free atmosphere in all of our services, and that includes grooming in that when the dog is up on the table getting their hair cut and their nails done and, you know, the works and all of that stuff, they're up there on their table and they're getting their hair done, and it's wonderful. When they're not, they may be in the bathtub getting their bath, but other than that, they're enjoying, you know, a blanket to lay down on or hanging out on the ground, you know, with their brother or sister, relaxing. They're never put into a cage to be what's called cage dried, which means that there's literally a kennel type thing with a dryer on it that blows right at them. It's a really efficient way to get a dog dry, but it's not something I was interested in having my dogs go through. Right. So they are kind of just hanging out and they're getting dry up on the table, but otherwise they're free to roam in the grooming area. So that's a different style that I created. I don't know if I created it, that I certainly wanted to offer. So absolutely.
And you've been doing this for the better part of a decade, more than a decade, I think now.
Well, 10 years, yep, but I started the research before that, but yeah.
Sure, and did you find that at other places were enjoying this type of cage-free? I mean, did you find any other places that did the cage-free grooming model?
You know, I didn't, that doesn't mean there wasn't. I'm not trying to claim absolute truth on that or guarantee, but I think the trend at the time and the norm was having cages in your grooming facility as well as in your boarding facility, and that was normal. I don't think anyone really considered anything different. So, no, typically there was the cage atmosphere with the dryer and all that, and that was normal, and I wanted to try something different and wanted to try something a little more relaxing for the dogs, which at times would take a little bit longer for the appointments because it would take longer to dry without the cage dry atmosphere. But I think the dogs were enjoying themselves more and feeling more relaxed, and oftentimes customers would tell me, you know, in other places they would go, they would be very, you know, nervous and shaking and, you know, not really, they come out looking wonderful, but, you know, be a little bit nervous about the experience, and they said, you know, they come right in and they're happy to come into your place. So
what I find interesting about what you're saying is what you're describing as being sort of what you do as a regular practice at Dog Days is, to me, what I would assume is happening anyway. So it's kind of a little bit eye-opening to hear that really this is not normal SOP for dog grooming places.
I think it is now. Like, I think that the norm was something that people didn't question, and I know the term cageless has become something of a, not like trend, but it's just I hear it all the time now.
It's a
And I
buzzword,
didn't,
yeah.
and I didn't even really use that as a word before. I just said, well, I'm just going to do it without cages. So now it's a thing. So yeah, I think people have had their eye opening to other opportunities in ways to do this, but you have to create your space in a way that it's possible. So
You were doing cageless before it was cool.
right. Thank you.
What made you kind of think that this was a necessary opportunity for pet owners and for the dogs more specifically too?
Yeah, just because I had been in environments that didn't offer that, and I just I feel that I'm in tune to dogs, and I would sense nervousness, I would sense fear and things, and again, it was the norm, and I don't think people questioned it. So, but when I did kind of tune into that sense of fear in the environments that I did see that non-cage free atmosphere, I felt that it was important for the canine community to offer, and their parents to offer something different, and it probably certainly was more difficult, and it was a trial and error kind of thing, but it so far has worked, and people appreciate it. So
yeah, well, when you have a dog, when you've got a pet, that's one of your babies, so you want them to be
Part of the
cared
family.
for when they're being groomed. Absolutely.
yeah.
When you hear about people who work with animals, who work, as dog trainers and whatnot, oftentimes they say they learn more. They feel like they learn more from the animals than the animals learn from them. What would you say is the best lesson that you've learned working with dogs over the years?
So, as people, I think that we have a sense of what did I do before? What am I going to do later? Past and future, and this, constantly worrying, or what's the next step?
Right.
Dogs, animals do not have this. They have what's living in the now, what's being here and being present. My ability to be able to take dogs to the park was very special in that when I was there, even as a business owner, it was difficult for me to be in the now. But at the park, I got to watch dogs run, and that's all they were doing. That's all they were doing. They could care less about the next moment, the moment before, and they always are like that. They don't have that sense of worry, and it's just, I encourage that. Children too have this too, but children are able to do this, but unfortunately they grow into us, and then they, hopefully we can teach them to be present with them, but dogs never, they never learn that unfortunate lesson about, so yeah, that being in the now and being with dogs and at parks in an environment where they're in their element really makes you settle.
Yeah.
So it is very nice.
That's a nice life lesson. And really quick before we go, I want to mention that you have a very nice Facebook community. We just got a couple seconds, but if you've heard of Angie's List, you basically do that for Facebook with your clients.
Yeah, so it's just something I kind of has been happening, but I thought I'd just point out and put a name to it or something of, if you're interested in knowing a good vet in the area, or where to go to buy your dog food, or a suggested food, or if your dog has an allergy, all these kind of questions, people have always come to us and asked. So we can use Facebook for that reason. Come and ask each other within that community and know that you can trust the answers.
There you go. So like Dog Days on Facebook.
Dog Days on
get
Facebook.
To be part of the greater dog community. Emily, thank you so much. Our local dog whisperer. We love having you. We'll be back with more Wisconsin Family after the break.
'Cause every day is a new day.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Family. We are at J&K Security Solutions in their model smart home, and we're going to look forward to speaking with those folks later on in the program.
Can't wait. We're going to do that pretty soon.
We're joined now by our resident financial guru, John Shearer from Trinity Financial Planning. John, welcome back.
Good. Thanks to see you guys.
Yes.
Always good to have you.
You're part of the staff now. Did you clock in?
Is that right? Yeah. Make sure I get my overtime, right?
That's right.
We always learn so much from you. There's the world of financial planning is a somewhat complex thing to navigate, but you always break it down in such easy terms for us. But I want to talk today a little bit about how you work directly with the clients that you serve. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, sure. We have basically two main services that we do. Our core service is wealth management, and that's where we do everything for clients from soup to nuts, taxes, investments, insurance.
Sure.
And then all new clients start with our financial tune-up, which is sort of one meeting where we get a chance to sort of test drive how things are working together.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's great. And we'll get to that in just a second. But expand on wealth management a little bit. What does that mean exactly?
It sounds like one of these esoteric terms, like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Sure.
But what that means is basically financial planning, where it's not just, when I say I'm a financial planner, people say, oh yeah, investment stuff, how is the market doing? And that's a part of it. But then, a bigger part of things are how much you're paying in taxes, and how is your insurance doing, and do you have your wills and things taken care of, and how much house should you buy, and all those areas. And so what we do is not just the standalone investments or insurance, it's the holistic picture. And so wealth management is dealing with all those areas. and including the investment side of things, but all areas of a person's life, and putting it together in sort of having one package where we're the quarterback of the situation, and we interact with maybe the CPA or the attorney and the insurance agent and act as an advocate for clients.
Very
It's,
good.
it's a comprehensive service, the whole wealth management. is
Absolutely,
comprehensive.
absolutely, yeah.
So what about the financial tune-up? I mean, what does all that entail? That's sort of the entry point for clients that you work
We
with.
call it the test drive when somebody says,
Sure.
hey, we'd like to hire you. It's our tagline for that is 1 meeting, 2 hours, 3 questions.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
so typically people call us and they've got, I've got this issue and I think we want ongoing advice. So let's tackle the one issue or the 2 issues or the 3 things and get a chance to feel what it's like to work together. And if it makes sense, if we're talking the same language, then we can talk about having a wealth management relationship on an ongoing basis.
Okay, so we've talked about wealth management, we've talked about financial tune-up. Are there other things available also?
We do some standalone investment work for clients where people don't have a need or a want for the tax advice or the other financial planning parts, and they just want somebody to help them with their investments. We prefer not to work that way because I really do think that things are integrated. How can you make an investment decision without knowing the full tax situation?
Right,
How does
yeah.
that impact the estate planning or these different things? But there are folks where they've got their tax situations all straightened out, and they don't have questions on retirement or other things, and they just want that investment advice.
Okay.
And there's a study that comes out periodically, and it's just came out recently, and the same results where it says that the average investor gets about 25% less return than the average investment, like the average mutual fund. And the reason for that is that when the market starts going well, people think, oh, this is a good time to get in, and then they don't get out, and then after it starts going down, when it's Brexit or whatever the apocalypse du jour is, then it gets scary, right? And
So well said.
and so people tend to buy high and sell low, even though they know. It's just emotional. And so
Right.
for people who say, listen, I just want some of that, to have a plan and to be able to stick to it and have somebody give me advice on where the money should be, we do some of that work.
That's so interesting because, like you said, it's almost counterintuitive. You get in as the excitement is rising,
Right.
and then as things start getting scary, you want to kind of get out. So that's an interesting thing. But as you mentioned, ideally, you would like to work with the big picture because you can really see all the components of somebody's financial health. But you do have those services available sort
Right.
of as needed.
I think the most value that we add is when we do the whole picture, when we do the wealth management. That's where we really provide an impact on people.
I'm curious to know what your typical client looks like. Who is your client? I mean, is it people who are 6-figure income folks, or who do you typically work with?
So the bulk of our clients are people within about 10 years of retirement,
Okay.
where the kids are either in college or that's all largely taken care of, and now you're making that big transition where you've worked for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Now you're going to plan for the next 20 or 30 or 40 years where you
Right.
don't have income coming in, and making that transition where we do most of our work.
Okay.
We also have clients, a number of clients where they're either running their own business or at the higher level in a business where stock options and other sort of more complicated planning things. That's our typical client situation. But we also serve, from the financial tune-up, so that's the entry level to get in. Everybody starts there. But then for people who don't qualify or it doesn't make sense for them to do the wealth management, we do have people that come in every few years and do a financial tune-up.
Okay.
And
so
that's
we
kind
serve
of-
anybody, from that standpoint.
So you don't have to
also.
have a certain amount of net worth or...
Anybody who's interested in getting unbiased advice and is willing to pay for that advice, they can come in and get a financial tune-up.
Awesome.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's very good to know. So, do you have any requirements of someone? You said you don't have any requirements for net worth or anything like that. Anybody can go in and they just have to
right.
give you a call. Is there a way? How can they set up the appointment?
Sure. So on our website we've got a link that actually ties right into our calendar. You can look at available times to schedule a phone call. So we say, listen, if you're interested, it makes some sense. Let's have a phone call and see if we're talking the same language, right? If it makes some sense to do that, then we can schedule a financial tune-up, and then we can see if it makes sense to work on an ongoing basis together. But the people that really fit, like I said, within 10 years of retirement for the wealth management, and typically those people have more zeros in their portfolio, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different on the other end of the scale with things. So
John Shear from Trinity Financial, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming in today.
Great, thanks,
John.
you guys.
Nice to see you.
Don't go away. There's more Wisconsin Family coming up right after the break. Stick around.
'Cause every day is a new day.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Family. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. We're here at J&K Security Solutions in their Model Smart Home, and we're going to talk a little bit about home audio and some of the advancements that have been made in installing home audio in your home. And here to talk more about that is the head of the Smart Home Division, Bill Topol. Is it fair to call you head?
I suppose.
For this show, you are.
I am, yes.
For this show, you are. Bill, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm just excited because I love gadgets and toys and things like that, but let's talk a little bit about distributed audio. This is something that's it's relatively new, but really not that new. Can you talk to us a little bit about what distributed audio is?
It's not relatively new, but it's kind of the way it's progressing and changing, and
Sure.
the way homes are kind of coming with these sort of solutions in them right out the gate is evolving to where it's just expected now. The simplest explanation of distributed audio is speakers that are built in
Sure.
throughout the house that people can listen to audio in multiple rooms.
Sure, a central speaker system.
Yep, exactly. And typically they're built in walls or in ceilings. It sort of depends on the height of the ceiling, the finish, how the end user wants to use it. If you're looking to work with a designer or an architect that has some sort of specifications that you have to follow, a couple of things to follow.
Yeah, you look at larger homes that have been built within the last 10 years or so. A lot of them have that just kind of built in. But we'll touch on this later on in the interview. But there's a way that you can sort of retrofit your home for that. So
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, well, really, that you made, is that it's sort of becoming the norm, like the expectation that you're going to have these components to your home. Excuse me, this technology component is just sort of expected these days. And maybe that's something that you notice more so when you have an older home, that the technology just isn't quite up to par. So let's talk a little bit about distributed audio types for folks who aren't familiar with kind of the different ways you can utilize it.
Sure. What we've really been seeing over the last couple of years are primarily two kinds of systems. One would be a single source, multiple zone system. In one of those, you would have speakers throughout the home, and when I talk about a zone of audio, I'm referring specifically to a room.
Sure.
So a kitchen would be a zone, a patio would be a zone. You would have built-in speakers. The wiring would run to a centralized amplifier. The amplifier would have one source play throughout the house, and you would go turn those zones on and off through a rotary style volume controller, something that would probably typically be locally in the room there in the wall, much like a light switch. Pretty basic, pretty easy to do, straightforward.
Yeah.
It does narrow your options as what you can have because that one source is playing simultaneously throughout all the rooms.
Sure, yeah, okay.
A little more of a sophisticated style, and we're seeing a lot of these now, are something called a multiple source, multiple zone amplifier.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I have here on the bottom here.
Okay.
So this
we
is
need to talk about our toys here.
yeah. So this would be what's called a 4x4. So this
Okay.
has four audio inputs to four zone outputs. And with one of these, you take away those rotary style volume controls. Everything's done through an electronic interface, a touch screen, a phone, or a tablet. I could be listening to my music in the kitchen, and you could be listening to yours outside, and we have our own independent streams going on.
Wow,
We could,
okay.
you could turn your volume up, and I could turn my volume down, completely separate of one another. Maybe we're having a party. Now all of a sudden we can hit a button and we join all the zones together. So maybe they're playing
Okay.
everything throughout the house in what's usually called like a party mode.
Okay.
So a little more options and flexibility with those.
So with single source, multiple zones, you're sort of limited because it can only be it's either on or off, or the volume. You can adjust the volume within each zone, but it's essentially going to be the same music or the same sound source.
it will be the same. So if you're listening to Pandora and that's what you're listening to as your source, that will be playing through all the zones throughout the house.
Okay.
You can turn them off through that volume control that's in the wall, or turn the volume down versus another room, but that will be playing the entire
With
time.
multiple zones, you can actually, and you guys have the capability of doing this, you can actually listen to different things. So what's
Throughout
happening
the
in the kitchen can be different from what's being heard on the patio.
And really quick follow-up question. You mentioned that single zone is easy to use. How about multiple zone? I mean, is it challenging? I see lots of plugins that scare me.
No,
But is it easy
not
to
at all.
use?
You as the end user don't see any of these plugins.
Okay.
Everything will be a nice, friendly, easy to use interface on a tablet or a phone, something like that, where you would go, you would have kitchen, and you would hit the
Sure.
box, and it would check it, and you would hit done, and it would start playing in that one.
So more capability doesn't mean more complicated for the
Not at
user.
all. It's actually it's very simple to use. Very simple to use.
Nice.
How do people typically zone their homes? I mean, I'm assuming that's probably a decision in and of itself to figure out, okay, what zone where do I want the zone boundaries to be?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that's usually whenever we're making that determination, we have our opinions, and then we have to meet with a customer or a builder, the end user, and get really their opinion. Typically, there's 4 ones that are the most popular in any home, and in order, the number 1 is the kitchen. Large congregating area. You're having parties. That's where the food.
It's become the gathering place.
It's where the food and drinks are.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
why would you not want it to be there?
Yeah.
The second one would be an outdoor patio or a deck or something like that. Summertime, right now, perfect to be outside grilling. You want to have music outside.
Absolutely, yeah.
And believe it or not, the third most popular is the master bathroom.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're getting ready in the morning.
Okay,
Some
that
people
makes
take
sense.
longer than others.
Yeah.
You don't want to just sit there in awkward silence the whole time.
Right.
Sure.
Fire up your music and listen to your music in the morning. And some of these systems actually have the capability where you can set alarms or schedules where the music will maybe just start automatically playing at like 6 o'clock.
In a particular zone.
Yeah, so we could program a system like the master bathroom where you'd want to listen to your Pandora station, and we have that start playing at 7 o'clock in the morning. You always get up at 7. That's when you want it to start playing, and you always leave at 8:30. Maybe you can turn itself off at 8:30 automatically.
That sounds like a really fun alarm system.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get in there. That's my jam.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Gives you incentive to get in there for
That's
sure.
right.
And the fourth one would be usually like a lower level rec room or something like that. And after that, it's kind of really end user specific as to what they want.
Yeah.
So before we go, let's quick talk about source selection and what that basically means.
So sources are how people play it. Most people play it through a Pandora, Spotify, which is on a tablet or a phone, AirPlay. Use various inputs like a Sonos Connect, which can be an input into an existing amplifier. Most people have that. The days of a CD player is something you plug physically into something or
Right. CDs are ancient.
they're done.
Right? Yeah.
Obsolete. Yeah, and I think it's important for viewers to know also that this can, if they live in an older home or a home that has not, doesn't have a system like this built in, this can easily be retrofit into their home. And technology is so wireless nowadays, it's really non-invasive. It's not like you got to plug a bunch of holes into the walls.
Exactly. There's a product out there right now that's really dominating the market called Sonos. Sonos is a wonderful option. It's a wireless speakers throughout the room. They come in different sizes based on the size of the room, and all they do is they require power. Plug it into an outlet, sync it up to your Wi-Fi, get out your phone, play straight to it. Join them all together, have that party mode like we talked about.
And you guys can show people how to do that, how to get them going on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really easy to do.
Really great place here at J&K Security Solutions Model Smart Home. Bill Topol, thank you so much for
Bill.
talking to us.
Thanks for coming in.
And that's all the time we have for Wisconsin Family. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and